You are listening to the Warrior Project podcast, where mindset, tribe, and violence meet.
My name is Justin Garcia, also known as Master Chim, and welcome to the Warrior Project podcast. You could find out more episodes and about the Warrior Project Tribe, which is my membership site, at thewarriorproject.com. You could also subscribe to this podcast if you have not done so already on iTunes. And if you are subscribed to iTunes, do me a favor, leave me a rating, leave me a little blip, a blurb, if you will, about what you feel about this podcast, unless it's negative. If that's the case, please keep it to yourself. So welcome to another episode. And this episode's query, what exercises should I do? So this is a pretty popular topic, I would say integral, significant part of somebody who is pursuing the warrior's lifestyle. This is a pretty significant part of their life. What should I do with my body? How do I prepare to fulfill the role that I've committed myself to be by identifying myself to myself and to my tribe as a warrior? What should I be doing? So there are a couple of different aspects of the value of exercise that you should explore before coming to the conclusion of what exercises you should do. I'll use my own journey as an example. For those of you that are unfamiliar, many moons ago, I played high school and then college Division III football. And with that, I lifted like a football player, which is basically you are at the mercy of whatever your high school or college football strength and conditioning coach knows and intends, for you to do. Some of them old school bodybuilders, some of them more Olympic lift driven. But whatever the case is, I started lifting weights very early on. As a teenager, I was a tremendous fan of bodybuilding, old school bodybuilding, right? And coming up through the late 80s and 90s, it was a very significant and I would say magical time for bodybuilding. And a lot of my lifting sort of grew out of that obsession. As I got a little bit older, after college and, wanting to get back into something competitive, I've always been an athlete. I started pursuing judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And with that, I kept lifting weights, but it became different. What I was trying to accomplish became a little bit different. I had a mission that the weights were now going to help me pursue that had little to do with aesthetics or appearance. I wanted to be stronger. I wanted to be stronger longer. And these things had me modify the types of exercises that I did, the formats that I used. I remember very early on being very much loyal to, committed to this sort of anabolic-driven workout format. And these sets were designed to get my heart rate up, designed to allow me to handle weights and resistance that resembled functional loads of what I would be using when I was doing jiu-jitsu or eventually my MMA training. And when I look at what CrossFit is today, I remember, it's funny, I remember when CrossFit first started becoming popular. Way back when their original site, and I have not connected to the CrossFit brand or community in years, but way back when I had heard about this site called CrossFit, and I don't know if it was CrossFit.com, it may have been, but every day they put out a daily workout, and you'd go to their site and they would tell you what to do for that day, and this was supposed to get you in shape. Well, I didn't know enough about it, didn't know enough about the people that were involved in it, and it wasn't something that I pursued. But I started designing my workouts around what I felt allowed me to handle the most functional weight while also increasing my endurance. And a lot of them, admittedly resembled CrossFit type workouts. So I was a personal trainer for a time there. It was how I was able to train jiu-jitsu and MMA as much as I could. Being a personal trainer, your schedule is flexible and such, and I did that. And one of the things that allowed me to do for the first time in my life was actually experiment, with different processes and different people on different missions, and sort of learn how I could manipulate and affect one person over another to get them to where they wanted to be fitness-wise. And over the years, it's evolved, time and time again. When I stopped competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, I started pursuing powerlifting. Now, when I fought MMA, I fought at 170 pounds, and I probably walked around, when in fighting shape, 85, 185 to 190. And I usually cut the water weight, leading up to the fight, the last week or so leading up to the fight. So I weighed in 170, 171, and, the next day got into the ring, because back then there weren't cages really, but got into the ring at probably 85, 86. When I started powerlifting, there was less of a need to fit into this weight class of function that MMA demanded. So I wound up putting on a lot of weight. I wound up putting on a tremendous amount of strength. And I basically just ate and lifted. And wherever, my body weight went, it went. And I've competed in powerlifting. I hold a couple of local records, nothing tremendously impressive, but I did see some success competing in powerlifting. So I have experience lifting weights and using them to maximize my ability to do different things. So, okay, I'm rambling. Well, what is it that you should be doing? What exercises should you be doing if you're trying to, let's just say, become a better warrior? And I think I could really start you off on the right path if we acknowledge that from the beginning. The mission that I'm going to describe right now is not the competitive bodybuilder. It's not the competitive grappler or MMA fighter or even powerlifter. It's the competitive, if you will, warrior, right? It's the person who wants there to be a component of his physicality that empowers and creates a synergy in his role as a warrior to his tribe, right? So there are three main sort of categories that I think really need to be explored or addressed when thinking about, why you should be exercising in the first place. I know a lot of people who espouse, the virtue and power of training to be violent and being a martial artist and being, what is, colloquially known as a warrior. And, these people, have never been in a fight in their life. These people have never lifted a weight. These people can't do anything past 30 seconds without having a heart attack. And that they are not really a capable warrior themselves. So I want to avoid that, that sort of hypocrisy, and cover a little bit more functionally what I think exercises do for the individual in his pursuit of becoming a better warrior. So let's start off with health, right? So this is the obvious one, right? Health is well, you got to get up and move, right? You got to get up and fight every day for your body's ranges of motion. Can you touch your toes at 20 and can't at 30? Can you, jog to go catch a bus that's about to leave the bus stop? Can you, lift the groceries from the car to the house? There is a prevention of ills and illnesses. There is also a quality of life issue to discuss when talking about, why we should be exercising in the first place. So very much a part of why somebody should be motivating themselves to do this is based in health. It's not about, if I'm not, going full speed, redlining the engine, it's not even worth doing anything. which a lot of people do. You'll see, and this happens all the time, I'm sure you guys have observed it yourself, where you have these professional, let's say, football players who were just complete physical specimens during their playing time. And as soon as they stop playing, they're diabetic, they're 150 pounds overweight, and they're dying shortly thereafter of some sort of, bacon-related illness, or whatever the case is. So there is a quality of life and prevention aspect to this. I will say that when you're exercising, and it is a component of your life, you tend to just be capable to expose yourselves to more ways to become powerful, right? If you're always tired, if you can't sort of run with the big boys, there is a limitation on what your potential is as a warrior, right? So health is a big thing to do with it. The next thing is ritual. When you are part of a group of individuals, of men, in my case, that, being strong and finding virtue in the benefits of lifting weights, it tends to empower the group in a collective, sort of synergistic sense that everybody should aspire to make their group resemble. So having a ritualistic component to lifting weights makes friendships better. It allows you, it sort of levels everybody up, so to speak. I know the opposite of this, right? To draw the contrast and illustrate the point. The opposite of this is having a bunch of guys who are very emotional, are very tied into, how they feel as opposed to how they perform. One of the things about lifting weights and exercising is that you are forming a relationship with a completely objective force, meaning nature. If you can't lift the weight, there's no amount of pouting that is going to lift it for you. So ritualistically, finding a tribe or even infusing into your tribe that identity of exercising and pushing the body has so many positive benefits to the empowerment of everybody involved. And I would say the last aspect of why, you should be training is function. You got to do the deed, right? Maybe it's fighting, maybe it's hunting, maybe it's evading. There are a lot of functional applications of, what we are going to ask our body to do. Now, I, for one, throughout my entire life, and this includes me being 170 pounds, 180, 190 pounds when I was playing football in college, I do not believe in running. I'm not a fan of running. I think there are certain body types that are conducive to running. I do not have one of those body types. I've never had one of those body types. I, at one point, was running a sub 4.540 in football and still had like a 10-minute mile time. One of the reasons is I would be pouting the whole time I was running the mile and sucking my teeth and hating that I was doing it. So I don't think when we're talking about function, we need to just sort of accept this, this blueprint that's handed down to us by other generations. I think we need to actually look at the things we're going to do. What are we going to ask ourselves to do under pressure? And how can we make sure that our training resembles that? Okay. At no point in my life am I going to be running anywhere. And to say, well, there may be a time where you're going to have to get from point A to point B, and those 2 points are 5 miles away from each other, well, then I would have to ask myself, well, what is the probability of that occurring, and exactly what component of my training regimen am I willing to sacrifice to accommodate that possibility, right? I know a lot of members of the military, a lot of friends of mine who are, either retired or still active in the military. Well, getting from point A to point B, where there might be a couple of miles in between, is a functional expectation of what it is that they're doing. The missions that they are a part of completely require, that distance running. And in turn, they should have that as a component of what they do. It's not as prevalent as you may think. But I guess the big thing is not a fan of running, right? Do not go to Master Chim to find out why you should be running. The joke I have in my school is, hey, we're learning how to fight so we don't have to run, right? But when it comes to function, yeah, you're gonna have to throw a punch. You're gonna have to swing a weapon. You're going to have to, if you've ever been on the range with a rifle all day, it's like, yeah, your shoulders could use a little bit of work to accommodate that and make it functional, right? So let's get down to what exactly you should be doing, right? I've given you guys the reasons of why these things are important and how they sort of weave into, your everyday life and your pursuit of becoming a better warrior. Well, what is it that you should be doing? Well, number one, you should be getting stronger. That means you should have your body constantly climbing a ladder to where it could handle more weights in a functional manner. Now, I'm not a fan of these guys who go on the leg press and are dying to share, what their record is of pushing weight that is on a machine that's designed to make it easier to push weight. There is a certain point where people are chasing numbers that I think strays away from the functional application of strength. But I think, if I'm going to train somebody in, let's say I have 8 weeks to get somebody who's never lifted a weight to prepare himself for, let's just say, a fight, right? And I have to have him in the gym doing the fighting and then doing the lifting. Well, the lifting portion is probably going to be a squat, a deadlift, a military press. I may throw in a bent row. I may throw in some pull-ups. I may throw in some unilateral type exercises, whether it's a single leg, step up or something of that nature. But it's going to be very, very basic exercises, and they're going to be done repetitively. They're going to be done flirting with his max efforts and max weights. I'm a huge proponent. All my fighters, my active fighters, are on the 5-3-1 program. It's Jim Wendler's program. And I've never met Jim. I look forward to one day. But I've been, pushing his I think flagship program for a while now. All of my guys do it, my professional fighters. And worth noting, I have, let's take, for example, one of my pro fighters, Paul Grant. He fights at 135 pounds, probably admittedly walks around between 150 and 160 when he's not on fight weight. But he deadlifts, I think, 425. He squats almost 400, I think. And this is somebody that competes at 135 pounds. So before he started lifting weights seriously, and I'm using Paul as an example, before he started lifting weights, he fought at 135. He's been lifting weights for a few years now. He still fights at 135. So there's something to be said for adding strength without changing the dynamics of your body type. You don't want to have to add all this weight in order to become stronger. So getting stronger, lifting weights, keeping it in the realm of free weights and functionally driven exercises, simple compound movements. A lot of times it's not fun when people are looking to be entertained in the gym. I, for one, acknowledge that, hey, I've been lifting weights since I'm 13 years old. I like the feel of a barbell. I like holding dumbbells. I like there is a positive feedback loop that I probably have developed that eludes people who are starting later in life, in at least those first stages of them lifting. All right. So my biggest advice, what's my take? Lifting should be functionally driven. You should be asking yourself, well, what is it that I'm trying to do? One of my big criticisms of CrossFit, it's the art of being prepared to do something. It's how do we prepare for something, but let the preparation for something be the something. It's a sort of incestuous, circular type of preparation and approach to fitness and function. I think that if you're going to be somebody who's hunting, well, you need to ask yourself, what is it that I'm going to be doing while I'm hunting? How do I empower and embolden that in the weight room so that I become a better hunter? If it's, fighting, I know, for example, you have competitive wrestlers who, in their 2-minute periods are arguably the best conditioned athletes on the planet. But a lot of them, when they make that transition to MMA, going from 2 minutes to 5 minutes, they realize it's an entirely different world. Well, this is the functional, component and application of what it is they're doing. 2 minutes, yeah, you can go, from beginning to end, soup to nuts, balls to the wall. But as soon as I extend that to 5 minutes, your lungs are on fire and you're about to pass out at the 3-4 minute mark. All of these things matter. Function has to drive preparation, right? So I'm a component or proponent rather of being functional. If it's for fighting, then you need to look at fighting. You need to explore the blueprints that already exist. Who are the people that are doing it right? What is it that they do? Specific, what I would guarantee or what I would propose people do, 531, the 531 program by Jim Wendler. It's a solid program. If you're not going to get into that, then just like I said, find people who are successfully doing what you see yourself as doing. Just identifying what your goal is and what is the functional application of your drive. That might be something that most people don't even, pursue. They might not even think about, well, what is it that I'm preparing for? So it's a great place to start. All right. I think I covered that. I will say, if you guys ever have any questions regarding these episodes and you want me to expound on something, whether it's me replying to you individually or me just putting this into a future episode, you could send your questions and comments to info@masterchim.com, info@masterchim.com. And I appreciate any feedback you have. All right, guys. So you can go to masterchim.com and put your email in, and you'll sign up for the Master Chim letter. The Master Chim letter is the daily morning email I send every day. And it's really just a way for me to keep you in contact with new episodes, with, just thoughts and ideas that I want to put out and share with the followers of my content. And it's absolutely free. Don't share your email. And you can go to masterchim.com and put your email in there and sign up right now. You could also go to thewarriorproject.com. And two things on thewarriorproject.com. We have the archive of these episodes, right, of the Warrior Project podcast. If you missed other episodes and you don't have access to iTunes, you can go to thewarriorproject.com and stream it right off that page. The other thing that is there, it is the portal to the Warrior Project Tribe, which is my membership site, which has a whole slew of benefits, which, I'm not going to mention them here. You can go to the site and check them out. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys spending the time listening to me, listening to this talk. And remember, Warriors, someone believes in you. Prove them right.